Hello, everybody, and welcome to She's Game Obsessed. We are going to be talking some week two matchups. We're going to be talking some players, and I have some questions that you guys asked, and I'm ready to answer. So I'm going to get right on into it. I'm looking at games that had comebacks. I'm looking at those games. The first one being the Jets and Browns. Now, I'm going to start this off. This was definitely on the more, I don't want to be so harsh, boring games of the week. So, where was that Browns defense? It should not have been easy for the Jets to make this comeback and win. We're talking by 1 point. We're talking about an onside kick. Come on. What was going on? There were so many missed coverages. And I'm going to be fair to the Browns here. It wasn't just on the Browns side of the ball, it was also on the Jets side of the ball. But why was Joe Flacco able to go 26 for 44? Throw 307 yards and 4 touchdowns? It's Joe Flacco. It's the Jets. No disrespect, but it is. Listen, Jets are definitely having a better season than they have in previous seasons, but they're still the Jets. They're still in that bad tier of teams, and it really showed the Browns' weaknesses and where they stand. Jacoby Brissett did go 22 for 27. He threw for 229 yards. He did have 1 touchdown and 1 interception. That Browns offense is heavily relying on Nick Chubb, who got 3 touchdowns. I don't know. I think that it was, again, for lack of a better word, the boring game of this week. I'm more shocked at the fact that the Jets did come back and were capable of winning. I thought it was a shoo-in for the Browns. The next one, Panthers at the Giants. Now, I'm not at all shocked on this one. I don't have much really to say on this game other than, listen, Panthers played just like I thought the Panthers were going to play. There was no part of their performance that I could say was notable. I don't even have a negative. I don't have a positive. They played just how I expected them to play, and I feel like that goes for everybody. It's the Panthers. Listen, Matt Rule is definitely going. He's going to be out the door at the end of the season. Panthers are 0-2 for the 3rd time in 4 seasons. That's huge. Baker went 14 for 29, 145 yards, and 1 touchdown. While on the opposite side of the ball, Danny Dimes made 22 of 34. He had 176 yards and 1 touchdown on the week. The Giants, man, gotta commend the Giants here. Starting 2-0, they look hot. That NFC East it's a dumpster fire of a division that is always fun to watch. I think they're definitely going to bring some heat for the Cowboys, for the Eagles. Monday Night Football will definitely be fun. And I'm going to throw this out there. Early hot prediction. I think the Giants can potentially go 3-0. That's, again, save that for later on in the week when I do my preview video, but that's my crazy hot prediction just early out the gate. Otherwise, this game went exactly how I also thought it was going to go. The Giants love their ugly wins. The Giants love their ugly wins. The Giants love their ugly wins. It's not football season unless the Giants are taking their ugly wins. And they love to play at the level of their opponent. And I'm not meaning they love to play the level. They're not going to be the Chiefs. They're not going to be as good as the Chiefs. But the Panthers, I feel like they downplayed how good they actually could have played to play at the level of the Panthers. But here they are. A W is a W. Moving on to that next one, the Dolphins at the Ravens. This was hands down one of the most exciting games of the week. Yeah, I'd say top 3, 2 Monday Night Football games and the Dolphins for me. That's that. But this was a wild one. I really kept my eye on it. I enjoyed watching. The Ravens looked good. The Ravens had an offense, had a defense in that first half that I have picked them to win the AFC North, but they showed why they should win the AFC North. But I don't know what happened in that second half. They completely fell apart. They allowed the Dolphins to come back at the beginning of that half from a 14-point deficit. They allowed Tua, we've already talked, well, not we, but Everyone else has already talked about that. They've allowed Tua 6 touchdowns. Tua threw 6 touchdown passes. The Ravens are gonna be a threatening team this year, and so are the Dolphins, and I think that's why this was an exciting matchup to really get to see how these 2 teams work. Lamar went 21 of 29, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 rush touchdown. I I have to say, I've criticized Lamar's passing, but I've also criticized and said he is practicing and needs to learn and get better with his routes. And I can only hope that he listened to me say that last week because I was meaning it in a polite way of my advice is get your routes down, get your guys, get your relationships built. This is going to be a long season. And it really feels like Lamar has done that in this last week because the difference from week 1 to now week 2 was insane in how good his passing ability was to me. Now, this is just a thought for me. This is a personal thought. This is nothing shady. This is not meant to be taken the wrong way. I love Teddy Bridgewater. Love him. Let me see Teddy Bridgewater with that offense of the Miami Dolphins. Listen, I know he's backup. I get it. But I just personally want to see it. I think it would be fun. All right. So that last game I'm looking at this week is the Cardinals and the Raiders. Of course, another big comeback that happened. The Raiders were way up. I mean, way up. We are talking about fourth quarter. It started. Raiders were winning 23-7. And why is it that fans and people and coaches and players and whoever else feel the need to begin celebrating before the whistle is blown and the game is over? Has anyone not learned anything about the Falcons Super Bowl a few years back? Anything can happen. Anything. This is a great game that is the best. One other great example of that. Stop popping bottles of champagne, Las Vegas. Focus on winning a game. You're in a tough division. You need to make it out. All right. So moving on from that, Kyler Murray, he looked okay. And then, like I said, that fourth quarter, they came in and they were hitting it. He went 31 for 49, 277 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And I want to give props to him on that AJ Green throw that put them into overtime and then obviously brought on that they won and it was cool. Derek Carr, you can't fumble that ball. You cannot fumble the ball. The front four should have been there. There should have been protection. This should have never happened. That was very much the Raiders' game to lose, and they did. So that was all I had really to go over for Sunday. Majority of the other games to me felt just not as entertaining and obviously very overshadowed by the fact that there were these important comebacks. As all of what everyone talked about was all that was focused on. And realistically, as I was going through making notes for every game this week, these are the 4 that stood out to me on Sunday that I wanted to talk about. This is my podcast. I get to do that. But 2 games I do want to talk about. Monday Night Football, the Titans at the Bills. Why did the Titans start off hot and then immediately fizzle out? When the Bills went up 7-0 and the Titans came back and tied that evenly, I was excited. I thought this was going to be a game because I was counting the Titans out. I was not expecting them to do all that well. And I'm obviously now right, but I got excited. I was like, oh, this is going to be a fun one. This is going to go back and forth. I'm going to see why the Titans deserve to win the AFC South. Everyone's been talking about it's between them or the Colts. Colts fell off. The Colts have fallen off very early. That's a different story for a different day, but the Titans, I thought, were going to show everyone why they deserved the AFC South, and they don't. That was a disgrace of a game. Now, Josh Allen and the Bills showed why they are the top team in the league. They are. That game last night was incredible. It looked perfect. Allen, 26 for 38, 317 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interception. Diggs was on the receiving end of 3 of those touchdowns. He had 12 receptions for 148 yards. The Bills looked incredible. The defense looked great. The offense looked great. The Bills are the team to beat this season. 100%. They are. As in for their defense, again, this is something everyone's already heard about is Dane Jackson. Prayers for him. That looked gruesome. I'm so happy the reports are coming out that it is thankfully not as bad as it looked, but that was a disgusting injury, and I would never wish that on someone. And I also want to say, I saw tweets of people saying, this is a Dolphins W. You are a horrible person if you say that, because that was an injury, or looked like it could have been an injury that meant that person lost mobility. That could have been a major spinal and neck injury for someone. That's not a Dolphins W. Somebody losing their ability to do something, not a win for your team. It's not. It's a loss for your team. If you're counting on someone getting injured to be a win for your team, that means your team sucks. That's all I gotta say. I know it's not all Dolphins fans. I just want to put that out there that was not cool. That was not nice. But yeah. Also, Derrick Henry, you're on my fantasy team. You had 14 yards. That was awful. Week 2, we gotta get that up. And I mean way up. You owe me. It's owed. The next game on that Monday night doubleheader, the Vikings at the Eagles. Going into this matchup, this was one I was amped for. I loved week 1, how the Vikings looked. Week 1, loved how the Eagles looked. What happened to the Vikings? There is no way that this is the same Vikings team that held back the Packers to 7 points. There's no way. I'm sorry. There's no way. What was that? The game that everyone wanted to see at this point was the Bills and the Eagles, because the Vikings and the Titans were off on La La Land, Planet 9, Mars, wherever football was being played horribly. Now, Justin Jefferson, completely absent. Not even there. I want to point out the real star of the show last night, and that was Darius Slay. He had 2 interceptions and even got a touchdown. Along with that Eagles D, they didn't look amazing last week. They came back and completely shut it down this week. They looked good. I loved that Eagles D. I'm excited to see them play more throughout the season. Now, I have had faith in the Eagles. I've been hyping them up. Last week they came out and they played good. This week they came out and they proved me wrong on the fact that I thought they were going to come out and play the same as they did last week. And I'm sure they proved many other people wrong. They came out, they did the damn thing, and they held Kirk Cousins to 27 of 46, only 221 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. That's not that great. Jalen Hurts, 26 of 31, 333 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and he had 2 rush touchdowns. Quarterback cannot have 2 rush touchdowns. I mean, they can. The Eagles just did it. Jalen Hurts just did it. But as a defense, you don't want a quarterback getting 2 rush touchdowns. That's just my personal opinion. But they came out hot. They went and did that damn thing in that first half. They came out second half and they were like, you know what? We'll give it to you guys. We'll try. Vikings still didn't amp up. Vikings didn't get it. Vikings didn't catch on. And again, it was a pretty moot second half. All the action was the first half, though, in my opinion. So a new segment here on She's Game Obsessed. If you listened or watched last season, we had the segment I Tap That. I've just kind of rebranded it, so it's the same concept. I'm going to pick a player, a coach, a team that I think was the absolute best this week. And they're like my gold star, ding, gold star. So for the very first Thirst Down this season, I'm actually going to take Lamar Jackson. Listen, I get it. He lost the game. Not he, the Ravens lost the game. But listen, these stats again, 21 of 29, 318 yards, 3 pass touchdowns, 1 rush touchdown. He's the first player with 300 pass yards, 3 pass touchdowns, 100 rush yards, and 1 rush touchdown in the same game. He's also the first player with a pass touchdown and a rush touchdown of 75 plus yards in the same game. Even with a loss, even with Josh Allen looking like a stud, even with Jalen Hurts looking like a stud, even with Kyler Murray pulling off a great comeback, Lamar is the one that shines the brightest for me this week. He is the thirst down this week. Now, I do have some questions that you guys sent in. Let me pull those up. So the first one, when is Lamar Jackson getting paid? Now, this is an interesting one. I have a theory on this. I think that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens had contract negotiations. He wanted more. The Ravens weren't willing to give more. Now, it did come out before the game that Lamar was going to be passing more and would not be running because he does not have a contract and he, in essence, does not want to get injured. That's a fair point. What leads me to believe he's also trying to throw more is I think the Ravens basically said, we are not going to pay you what you're asking for just yet because you haven't passed. You're not a passing quarterback. You are a running quarterback and not a running back, a running quarterback. I'm not disrespecting him, but his passing was never that great. It's vastly improved, but I think the Ravens didn't want to pay until they had that complete package. So I could very well see the Ravens trying to come at the end of the season and pay him money. Now, Ken Dorsey, head coach. Ken Dorsey, if you don't know, for whatever reason, offensive coordinator for the Bills. That was a great showing for the Bills. I'm not rushing to put him as a head coach just yet. Here's the reason being. That Titans team is not the best. I'm going to put it out there. Ryan Tannehill, not an elite quarterback. There's nobody on that team besides Derrick Henry that necessarily stands out to me. And even then, Derrick Henry didn't stand out to me in that game. I think that obviously the Bills had the Titans number and it was a great win. But we've seen it before. When offensive coordinators go off and become head coaches, it's not the best showing for them, i.e. a big one right now, Josh McDaniels. So, no, I'm not rushing to put him as a head coach just yet. The next one, is Drew Brees coming out of retirement? No. No. I would love to see it. I love Drew Brees, but I think he is somebody that recognizes how old he is and the fact that he just is not going to play as an elite level as he could have. And realistically, I don't want to see that Saints team without Sean Payton as the head coach if Drew Brees comes back. Because I'm safely assuming that you're meaning Drew Brees would come out of retirement to play for the Saints. Again. So the next one, too soon to discuss MVP. This is a yes and no answer for me. Reason being, yes, there's still 16 more weeks of football. Way too early to discuss the MVP. But the no part about it is it's never too early to discuss players each week that are looking fantastic, doing amazing things on the field, being the best player they can be, and then even doing really cool, fun, entertaining things to you watch. That's football. That's entertainment. So yes, it is too early in like the grand scheme of things to, I think, call out and be like, so-and-so is the MVP. But each week to talk about people that are improving and getting better and the fact that, hey, I like this person. They did really good this week. I think they could be an MVP candidate. There's that. Las Vegas Raiders in trouble. This is an interesting one. I don't think they're in trouble. I think there's just a lot going on in that franchise and in that team. Again, we're looking at last season having a head coach that did not good things, players that did not good things. And these are two things that impact, especially the players that are still there that were there last season. Those are things that impact them. A new head coach, there's a bunch of new players, there's new systems, new routes, new everything happening. So I wouldn't think that they're in trouble just yet. As we get more into the season, I think this is a topic to revisit. But in this day and age, in this moment, I'm not scared for them just yet. Somebody wrote, thoughts on the Miami-Baltimore game? I gave those above. But again, it went exactly how I thought it was going to be. Two very explosive offenses. And honestly, the defenses, I think, showed up to a certain point. Was entertaining. I loved it. I'm excited to see both of those teams throughout the rest of the season for sure. And the last question I received, was Mike Evans wrong? Yes, because he cost me fantasy points. But besides that, Um, I think it's a game of passion, and you could say that about any sport. You could say that about anybody who has grown up their whole life playing this sport, making it into the NFL, and then on top of that, you make it into the NFL and you get to be granted with playing with the greatest quarterback of all time. I think you are gonna be very protective of that and of that person. I'm not saying he's wrong in the aspect of loyalty. I think it does show how loyal Mike Evans is to Brady, which we see that with his wide receivers that he has in the past and even tight ends, Gronk, Edelman. So in the context of things, uh, he was loyal, but absolutely he was wrong. I, Ray also thinks he was wrong. You do not just charge someone on a field. I don't know on what planet that's ever okay. Um, sorry. Say hi, Ray. So, yeah, Mike Evans. For those of you that are not watching and listening, my dog has just joined the podcast. He does not like what Mike Evans did, and I'm just gonna say he was wrong. You don't charge people, but all right, that was episode 2. Quick recap of the comeback weekend for these 4 teams and talking some Monday Night Football. As always, I answer your questions, and we will be back on Thursday to do a preview of Week 3 games. I am your host, Jill Bajol. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, all that great stuff. She's game obsessed on social media, on YouTube. I'm your host. It's Jill Bajol. That's my handle for everything on social media. It's also listed right here. Yeah. See you guys.